Let me start the presentation as well. Yeah, so in our previous discussion, we were dealing with variety of software architectures where we saw solution architecture. We looked into your logical architecture, and I hope I'm audible. Yeah. So we talked about technology architecture. We looked into your information architecture. We talked about, I guess, technical deployment, and so on and so forth. So today, what we are going to do is we are going to see a very important architecture, which is 4+1 view. But before that, let me ask you some very quick questions. So, what do you mean by this enterprise level software? What do you mean by enterprise level software? I hope you are here with me, or it's not the case that you've simply switched on and you have left for some other work. Yeah, large organization. Yes, right. So when we talk about enterprise level software or enterprise application software, here the purpose is that one need to satisfy the need of an organization instead of providing a solution to an individual user. So basically, these organizations, when I'm using this term organization, this means I'm talking about businesses, I'm talking about schools, I am talking about clubs, it can be any government organization. So any software or the enterprise software which becomes an integral part of this particular system, that would be called as your enterprise level softwares. That means this time it's not for an individual, but it can be for an organization for a specific purpose. In fact, every software is there for providing a solution. It has a purpose, but enterprise level solution, that means I can have, let's say, uh, I have a solution for online shopping. I have a solution for online payment. I have a solution which has a catalog of a particular product. I can have the automated billing system. I can have BPM. I can have a business process management software. I can have one IT service management kind of application. Then I can have CRM. Right? What do you mean by CRM? Yeah, it's your customer relationship management application. So I can have a business intelligence application, I can have a project management application, I can have HRM as well, human resource management application, I can have some health and safety related application. So all these things will fall under this particular category. The reason being why I'm introducing this particular slide is that soon we are going to cover an architecture which is majorly for a good sized application, right? So it's like your 4+1 view architecture. This is what we are going to cover in today's class. I missed to share you the recorded video for this particular topic, which I thought I'll do it on Saturday, but somehow I missed that particular part. Yeah, so okay, this is the another variant, which is your solution architecture. So what it says is that because this is something which is broadly used in your IT industry, so I thought I should also introduce you people with this particular very small topic. So what we have is, in this solution architecture, what we have is we have requirements which are fed to this particular solution architecture, and these requirements can be further managed, and it can be engineered. So what we have is a term which is coined in IT and which says the description of a discrete and focused business operation or activity, and how your IT support that particular operation. Right. So there we have, a solution, right, in the form of an architecture for a particular problem. That's how we deal with this particular thing. Now, next is the topic which we are going to focus today. So, this is nothing but 4 plus 1 view model of architecture. Now, this is something which is, given by Philip Crookten, and Philip basically, initially used to work for Rational Softwares, and then later on, the same Rational Software became a part of IBM. So this is the title of this paper, and later on, this particular thing became very popular. In fact, after this class, you just Google 4 plus 1 view architecture, you'll find that after 1995, somewhere in the year, it was in the year November 1995, this paper was made available digitally, and since then it has been widely used, and for any enterprise level application, 4 plus 1 view model architecture is something which is must. So there is this title, you can search this thing. This research paper has been cited so many times, and it's available free of cost as well. So it's available to the wide public. It's a 15-16 page paper, and it has covered all the length and breadth of this 4 plus 1 view architecture, right from the importance and the why to use, how to use, with a very good example from a telecom sector. Today also in our class we'll take some examples, and we'll try to understand this particular 4 plus 1 view architecture. So we were talking about this paper, so which tries to present a model in order to describe the architecture of the software intensive systems, right? And this model is basically based on the use of multiple views or the concurrent views. So we get views from different angles. So this use of your multiple views basically allows you to address uh, the concerns of the various stakeholders. Um, so what we see is, we see the end users involvement, we see the developers involvement, we see the systems engineers involvement, we see the project managers. So all these stakeholders are included in this. That's the beauty of this particular architecture, and it's a part of your object oriented design, right? It's a part of your object oriented design in your software development process. Now, let me give you, some more details about this 4 plus 1 view architecture. So, this basically is the model used for describing the soft architecture for a software intensive system. That's what we've already covered. Uh, so this is based on multiple views. I have several views. That's why it is called as your 4 plus 1 view. So multiple views are added to it, and these views are used to describe the system from the viewpoint of various stakeholders. Now, let's try to cover this one by one. One by one, in the sense, we'll cover each and every part of it. We'll cover 4 plus 1th. I'll skip because I assume that you have already covered your DFDs and UML diagrams thoroughly. So, what we have here is that this particular 4 plus 1 view model is giving you 4 and plus 1th view. Now, the point is, before going into the details of this, the point is, what do you mean by a view model? Any points in this? Any points in this? What do you mean by view model? No? Okay.
Sir,
So,
it is a class that holds some properties and some attributes for the main function, means main activity class that is
okay,
required.
so you brought your object-oriented design concepts, but so basically,
Separation of development phase of graphical user interface.
okay, different kind of view, like okay, Mayank, okay, Ramit, different kind of view, like structural or logical. That is like comprising of 4+1. But my point was what is basically your view, but it's okay. So some you people are very near to the exact solution. So this view model is, is nothing but a framework which defines a coherent view set of views which can be used to construct a system architecture, or you can call it a software architecture. And this view is a representation of the entire system from a perspective, and this viewpoint point modeling is very effective approach for dealing with the inherent complexity of any large distributed systems. So we'll see this uh, thing in details. Now the point is why we are going ahead with this 4+1 view architecture is that using this we come up with a mechanism to separate the different aspects of a software system into different views of the system. And this is only possible because different stakeholders will always have different interest in a software system. Some people might only be, interested in design. Some people might only be interested in implementations. So if I'm a developer, so I look into the classes part. If I'm an administrator, I look into the deployment part. I look into the hardware and network configuration. So it depends, right? Various stakeholders, various interests, and why not to exploit these differences and these interests. So for this reason, we have this 4+1 view architecture. I mean, as I said, the developer will be interested to look for the classes. System administrator will look into the development, deployment, and will look into the network configuration. Will be interested to look into the hardware configuration. And similarly, your project manager will have certain interest. Your tester will have a separate range of interest. Your customer will have a separate range of interest, right from UIs and other stuff, the navigation part. So what we have is in this particular thing, we have a model with 5 views, right? We have a logical view, we have a process view, we have a physical view, we have a deployment view, and we have this scenario of use cases, right? So this is fifth one. And in my explanation, I haven't used this plus oneth view, which is the fifth view. The reason being, I know that your scenarios and use cases are already covered in your software engineering classes. That's why I have, not covered this particular thing in this, but I assume that everyone knows. So these views are used to describe the system from the viewpoint of different stakeholders. Stakeholders can be, your end user, your integrator, your system engineer, your programmers and software managers, and so on and so forth. So I have like four views, which are logical, development, process, and physical, and the last one is plus one, which is nothing but your use case diagrams. Right. So basically, looking at this particular thing, you might have got an idea that, okay, this is something which is describing the software architecture with 5 concurrent views. from 5 different angles I'm getting this particular architecture. Right? That's where the difference lies. Now let's talk about all these things. So what we have is we have a model based on multiple concurrent views. In case of logical view, we have the object model of the design. So what we have here is, let me see, I have added those slides. Yeah. In case of process view, I'm trying to capture the concurrency and synchronization aspects of the design. Don't worry, we'll see all these things with several examples. We'll take a case study as well to understand this entire uh, topic. Then we have a physical view that is describing the mappings of software onto hardware and reflecting its distributed aspects. Then we have a development view, which is describing the static organization of the software in its development. And the last one is your scenarios, where decisions made and the description of the architecture is added. Sorry. So your logical view is talking about the decomposition of the system into its constituents. And we'll see with an example so the things will be much more clearer. The process view captures the execution time components and how they are interacting. Then your physical view is describing the relationship between your software components and the hardware. The development view is dealing with the development time issues like files, people, and so on and so forth. The scenario is like the decision made or the illustrations or the description of the architecture. So this is a logical view where the viewer is the end user. What it is considering is the functional requirements. That means what the system should provide in terms of services to its users. And if you want, we can have the notation as the Booch notation, which is your OMT. That means object and dynamic models. And we can go ahead with any of these tools, which are like your rationals. So I can have your class, state, object, sequence, communication diagrams, and so on and so forth. See, the good flexibility with this particular 4+1 view architecture is that you can come up with your own symbols, but that those symbols should be well distinguishable. The paper says it, this. Next is your process view, where the view is the integrator, right? So here what we are doing is we are going for, previously we went for logical decomposition, which was your object oriented decomposition. This time I have the process decomposition. So I have to consider the non-functional requirements. That means your concurrency, performance, scalability, and so on and so forth. Now, this can have, these are some official statements, but as I said, that it gives you some flexibility. So we have several styles added to it. We can have your Garland and Shaw's architectural style in it. Then we have this thing in the process view. We can have multiple levels of abstraction. That particular part will also be clear with one of the examples which I'm going to cover. I can have a logical network of processes at a highest level, and a process is a grouping of tasks that form an executable unit. For example, in case of a major task, I have architecture related event task. In case of minor task, I have a helper task. That means I can have a buffering kind of thing. Then we have the development view, where I have the subsystem decomposition, and this is the basis of a line of product, software line of product, right? And we have the programmers and software managers in this development. From this name only, you might have got an idea. And this considers the software module organization. So what we have is we have hierarchy of layers, we have software management, we have reuse, we have constraints of tools, and it gives a building block view of the system. For example, the package just used, execution environments, class libraries, and subsystems utilize. In this, since this style is the layered one, so once again I can go ahead with Booch's notation as well. Then we have a physical view where mapping the software to the hardware is done, right? In this one, we are trying to map the software and its components to the associated hardware. So the viewer will be the system engineer, right? He'll be the best one to take a call on what all components to run what all machines. And we'll be considering your non-functional requirements regarding to underlying hardware. That means the topology communication. And this view basically shows the system's execution environment. So we may have several forms and may tightly connect the process to this process view for as far as notation is concerned. So I can have two architectures. One is test and deployment, and the deployment as well. That depends. Mostly we'll prefer to have a deployment one. And yeah, obviously last one, once again, I haven't added, which is your scenarios or the use case. So that is like all users of other views and evaluators, and they can consider the system's consistency and validity. So your validation and illustration is done to show the design is complete. And basically, it is something which is redundant with other views, and that's another reason I have not added anything to it. And for the sake of giving you the basic uh, contents from where I took these contents for this set of slides is this particular thing. So these are some of the references which you have to consider while reading this particular one. So before that, what we have is, since I had a talk about concurrency, right? So we may have some relationship among the views. So in that case, your concurrency is basically not addressed in the logical view, and in order to achieve the process view, we need to map the classes and their objects onto the tasks and process addressing the concurrency and synchronization. Similarly, in case of your logical view, which is also the basis for the deployment view, so what we do normally is that each class will correspond to a particular module, and your large classes may be decomposed into packages. Then these classes can be collected and can be grouped into some subsystems. Then we have modeling a system, right, where we can decide which views are needed to basically let me write it before you miss this particular thing, right? Modeling a system, so where we decide which views are needed to best express the architecture of the system and to expose the technical risks to the project. And for each of these views, I can decide the artifacts as well. For example, UML diagrams, and then I can take a call on this as a part of process planning. What I can do is I can decide which of the UML diagrams of the required frequent reviews are there and which are needed to be documented. Right. Then we can allow the rooms for the diagrams that are thrown away, like such transitory diagrams are useful for exploring the implications of the decisions taken and for experimenting with the changes. Then what we have is we'll have those views on those UML diagrams. So those are some trivial ones. Just a quick question. I guess everyone is aware about UML diagrams, right? I hope you people are here. I hope you people are here only.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So things are clear, or you are confused? Confused or convinced? Clear. Okay. Sorry, I missed to see these messages. Sorry. Yeah. Now let's take some examples, right? And then the things will be much more clearer, because right now we are only, continuously discussing. We are talking about all these stuffs. Let's take some examples. Right. So here we are talking about your four. Sorry, 4+1 view architecture. Now we were talking about logical views, where we said that we have a logical decomposition, and then we have, we were talking about process view, where we said, okay, there is a process. And okay, sorry, I moved to a different page. Yeah. So to start with, let's take a small problem before moving to the entire case study. And then here what we can do is we can deal with your logical view, and further your process view. Recall our discussion. We said that logical view is nothing but a logical decomposition. Right. So let's take one example where I have a project or a system P, and I'm taking a very small example for the sake of understanding. Now this software product P, what it is doing is that it is taking a sequence in the sense, it is taking a sequence of let's say it's taking a string, and what it is supposed to do is that based on the input, it has to, this project P, software product P, project or the product, it remains the same, things remain are the same. It has to accept that particular string and has to convert the alphabets into lower and upper alternatively, and then give the output. Right. That means if suppose I have one string which is, let's say, software. Now what I'm supposed to do is that the output should be, let's say, S O F T W A R E. That's how it should work. That means that's how this product should work, that the input is this, then I'm getting this as an output. Right. Now, in this case, I have, for logical view, what I have is, just a second. Sorry, a call was continuously disturbing me. Okay, anyways, so now before explaining this, just a quick question. I hope the problem is clear. That means I have a product P. It has to give the output in a way that alternatively I'll be getting a string in with the alphabet sequence in the uppercase, lowercase format. Yes or no? Okay, okay, fine. So let's take the logical view where we said that it is nothing but the logical decomposition. So in that case, what I have is I have a main, which is the entire program. Now I'll have because I have to logically decompose it, so I'll have another, or maybe the first component, which is a function which is nothing but a function split. That means the system is accepting the input and it is splitting it. Now next is I'll have a function which is converting to upper case. Right, I have a function which is converting it to uppercase. Another one will be the one which is converting it to lower. And ultimately, the last one will be merging it. So I'll have a merge function. Right. Now, for this, what I have done here is that I have the entire product P and I have logically decomposed it into all these components. And further, I can work on it, I can work on it, I can work on it, and I can work on it. So it is the logical decomposition of the entire project or this entire software product. Now, let's talk about the process view. Let me keep it here. Yeah, so I'll have a record of what all things I have. So in this one, what I have is I have the same function which is split and obviously which is getting some inputs, and this function is sending one alphabet to upper to converting it to the uppercase. And the second one which is sitting here, which is the two lower, and the role is that I need to convert that particular alphabet to the lower case. If it is already lower, then I don't have to. Right, how to write the code for all these things, I think I don't have to go into details, because as of now, normally we'll be dealing with a higher end enterprise level softwares, not these small programs. Here, for the sake of understanding or for the sake of explaining, I'm taking this example, whereas the next example will be the entire case study of an enterprise level software. But here just an attempt is there to explain you how the things are happening. And here we went for merge. and from here we'll get the output. So this becomes your process view. That means that how, if you previously go to this definition, right? So what we see is, or maybe the basic definition, let's see. Process captures the concurrency and synchronization aspects. That means capturing the execution time components and how they are interacting. So all the components and how these things are interacting is captured in this particular process view. Now, any doubts in this, or else we'll move to a case study. Any doubts in this one? Okay. So now let's take the case study for the entire 4+1 view architecture. So to start with, what we have is, let's take an application which is nothing but your library management system, which is nothing but your LMS. LMS means your learning management system also is called as LMS, but here we are taking the library management. Right. So what we have here is, we can have a library module, right? And so right now we are going for logical view. So in this case, what we have is, in a library we can have, a catalog module, and I can have a circulation module. I can have a user registration module. I can have a journal subscription module for all the journals which are subscribed by the library, and I can have acquisition module, what all things are acquired by the library. So I can have the acquisition module as well. So what I have done is, I have decomposed a library management application into this small modules, which are your catalog module, which are your circulation module, which is your user registration module, and then I have your acquisition module, and I have your journal subscription module. So this becomes your logical view, right? This is your logical view. Now next is your process view, right? So what I'm supposed to do is, I am supposed to take all these components only, right? From the previous example we might have got some idea. So what I am going to do is, I'm going to take all these modules. So modules were your catalog module, your circulation module, your user registration module, your journal subscription module, your acquisition module. So how these systems are going to interact is, like, catalog has to get the details about the availability from the circulation module, And circulation will have the details from the user registration, because from here only I'll get to know that who all have issued, and then based on that only I'll make my catalog available. Catalog module will also be in touch with acquisition module, because what all things the library has acquired, that has to be reflected, and that would be in the catalog module only. So from the acquisition also, this catalog module will be interacting. Then I have the journal subscription module. So here what we have is like all the journals which are subscribed by the library, that will also be displayed using the catalog, right? Whether it is IEEE ones, or whether it is, you know, uh, ACM subscriptions. So all these things will be, described using your current one, which is your process view. That means from the previous example, in fact, for the two upper and two lower program kind of example, you might have got the idea about this process view. So here we are talking about the enterprise level application, which is nothing but your LMS, that is your learning management system. Now, next one is that I need to take a call on how these things will be developed. Right. So what I'm supposed to do is, what I've decided is that the previous ones, these ones, right? This catalog module, this, or let me explain this diagram, right? This catalog module should be available to the outside world. So this should be kept in a separate machine, because outsiders can also see that what all things we have in our library. Right, so this is running in machine 1. Circulation is our internal matter. Whosoever will go to library will able to see this. So this should not be available in a public IP. So I made it available for the internal users. So it is there in this second machine. This acquisition, journal subscription, and user registration, I have made it available in a machine 2, which has totally different purpose. So that becomes your part of another one. And from this you might have got some idea that okay, this is nothing but which view is this? This is my physical view. It is also called as deployment view. Right. Now, afterwards, I am yet to take a call on the last thing. Let me use this diagram now. So what I decide is that my catalog module should be this catalog module should be developed in Bengaluru, and these two should be developed in, let's say, New Delhi. And these two should be developed in, let's say, Pune. So this thing is nothing but the development view, because I'll take a call that okay, my team which is sitting in Bangalore will work on catalog module, team which is sitting in New Delhi will work on circulation and user registration, team which is sitting in Pune will take on acquisition and journal module. So this is your development view. And your scenarios, which is the plus one view, that I am not going to cover. The reason being your use case UCATs are already known to you. Right, these things are already known to you. That means the same DFDs and UCATs are the plus one view. So whenever in your exams or in your assignments, I'm asking this question. So your plus one view should also be visible, right? Plus one view should be there, but that would be your DFDs, and that's nothing but the scenarios, use case scenarios, right? Recall your software engineering discussions, right? We had your use case scenarios. Right. Now, this 4 plus 1 view architecture gives you a flexibility of using the kind of style which you want. But as I said previously, it should be distinguishable. If you'll go ahead with the reading this particular, if you physical view, Siddharth, okay, you were telling about this physical view. Siddharth, you have doubt on this, or you wanted to tell me the name? Okay, fine. I thought you have a doubt, so I was about to explain you. So, if you'll go through that particular paper, that gives you an idea that that too with a very good case study of a telephone company. So, I would suggest you to go through that particular paper. Then your things will be much more clearer. And as I said, I tried to explain you this particular concept with a very simple example. And now, so this was all about 4 plus 1 view architecture, where we had 4 kinds of views. This was all from my side for today's class. Now let's take some questions from you people. Yeah, so any doubts? Clear or all clear? Any doubts up till now?
Sir, in the plus one scenario of use case scenario, we have to do that use case activity diagram.
Right. Use case see scenarios from the name itself. Okay, Chavi. Okay, Mriganshi. Yeah. So Shashwat has left his phone or maybe tablet or maybe laptop in the switched on mode, and he has left. Okay, Shashwat is here. Fine. Shashwat might have got some alarm from or a WhatsApp message from one of the active colleagues.
No, sir,
Okay.
I'm constantly listening to you.
No, just. Oh, no issues, Shashwat. Yeah, so, yeah, Ramit, I was telling about the scenarios, as I said, your use case scenarios or maybe scenarios are the last part of this 4 plus 1 view architecture. If you carefully go through the definition of this particular thing, scenarios will be your decision made illustrations or the description of the architecture, where what we are trying to do is that we are trying to give you the idea about the overall movement, right? That we have already seen that we can do it using our use case activity diagrams. So some more doubts. Let's take some more doubts. We have some more time left with us.